Most people say they want focus. What they actually want is comfort while staying distracted. They live everywhere at once. One moment in the phone, one moment in memory, one moment in fear of tomorrow, and then they wonder why nothing grows. If your life feels noisy, it is because you have not decided where your energy belongs. You do not rise by accident. You rise by design. And design requires space. A dedicated zone is not a room. It is a decision. It is the moment you say this place is for one thing only. When you enter it, you do not negotiate with your impulses. You do not check messages. You do not entertain excuses. You train the mind to understand this is where work happens. This is where discipline lives. Where you stand decides how you act. This is not poetry. This is reality. The body enters a space first, and the mind follows after. Before you think, before you plan, before you motivate yourself, your surroundings have already told you who you are supposed to be in that moment. Most people ignore this. They blame their lack of discipline, their weak focus, their inconsistent habits. But the truth is simpler. They keep standing in the wrong place. When you sit where you usually scroll, your hands already know what to do. When you lie down where you usually rest, your body prepares to shut down. When you enter a space filled with noise, unfinished tasks, and distraction, your mind mirrors that chaos. You cannot expect clarity from confusion. Action is shaped by position. This is why intention must come before effort. You do not wait to feel ready. You decide where you will show up. Once the place is chosen, behavior becomes easier. The mind likes patterns. It looks for signals. When the signal is clear, it stops arguing. It stops negotiating. It moves. Most people live without intentional space. They work where they relax. They rest where they worry. They think where they are constantly interrupted. Then they wonder why everything feels heavy. There is no separation, no clarity, no order. And without order, energy leaks. Choosing your space is choosing your identity in that moment. When you step into a dedicated place, you are making a silent agreement with yourself. Here I act in a certain way. Here I do not betray my focus. Here I respect my time. Over time, this agreement becomes automatic. You no longer need to force yourself. The place carries the discipline for you. This is how structure replaces motivation. Motivation is unstable. It depends on mood, on sleep, on external praise. Structure is reliable. When you decide where you stand, you remove choice. And when choice disappears, resistance weakens. You stop asking, should I do this? You simply do it. There is power in repetition. Returning to the same space for the same purpose trains the nervous system. It tells the body this is familiar, this is safe, this is expected. Focus deepens not because you try harder, but because you confuse the mind less. Clarity comes from consistency. People often say they need a better mindset. What they really need is a better setup. Your willpower is limited. Your environment works all day. If you want different actions, change the place where those actions are supposed to happen. Do not rely on strength when intelligence is enough. Standing in the right place also teaches respect. Respect for your goals. Respect for your effort. Respect for yourself. When you create a space and use it only for its purpose, you send a message inward. My time matters. My attention matters. I matter. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. The mind will try to escape. It will look for familiar distractions. Stay. Do not entertain the urge. Let the place do its work. Over time, entering that space will calm you. The moment you step in, your posture will change. Your breathing will slow. Your focus will sharpen. This is conditioning. This is training without force. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Start with what you have: a corner, a chair, a mat, a desk. The power is not in luxury. The power is in intention. Decide what this place is for and protect it. No multitasking, no compromise. Your life improves when your spaces have meaning. When each place tells you how to behave, you stop feeling lost. You stop drifting. You become precise. And precision creates results. So choose where you stand. Because once you stand there consistently, the right actions will follow. The mind obeys the environment faster than it obeys motivation. This is something many people do not want to accept, because it removes the comforting idea that one day they will feel ready. The truth is, readiness is not a feeling. It is a response to cues. And the strongest cues are not thoughts. They are surroundings. You can sit in a room filled with noise, movement, and temptation and tell yourself to focus, but the nervous system has already decided otherwise. It is scanning for danger, novelty, stimulation. Your words arrive too late. Motivation tries to argue with biology, and biology always wins. This is why discipline feels exhausting for so many people. They are fighting their own environment every single day. The environment speaks in silence. The phone on the table speaks. The open tab speaks. The cluttered desk speaks. The unmade bed speaks. Each object sends a signal to the brain about what kind of behavior is expected. Most of the time, these signals are louder than your goals. This is not weakness. This is conditioning. The mind learns through association. A place where you have wasted time before becomes a place where you will waste time again. A place where you have focused before becomes a place where focus comes easier. The body remembers faster than the intellect. This is why relying on motivation is unreliable. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. The environment is constant. It does not care about your mood. It influences you whether you notice it or not. When your environment is aligned with your intention, discipline feels natural. When it is not, discipline feels like self-punishment. Look closely at your daily struggle. Where do you procrastinate the most? Where do you feel lazy? Where do you lose control of your attention? These places are not neutral. They have trained you. And you have trained them in return. If you want change, you must interrupt this relationship. Do not try to be strong in a weak environment. That is ego. Be intelligent instead. Remove what pulls you away. Simplify what surrounds you. When the space is clean, the mind has fewer excuses. When distractions are not visible, they lose power. People think focus is an internal skill. It is not. It is a response. When you walk into a quiet, clear, purpose-built space, your breathing changes. Your posture changes. Your awareness narrows. This happens before you tell yourself to focus. That is the environment doing the work for you. This is why monks, warriors, and craftsmen respect their spaces. Not because they are aesthetic, but because they are functional. Everything in the space has a role. Nothing is random. Nothing steals attention. The mind rests when it does not have to constantly choose. When you design your environment correctly, you reduce decision fatigue. You do not ask, what should I do now? The space already answered that question. This is freedom. Not endless options, but clear direction. At first, changing your environment may feel uncomfortable. The mind will miss the chaos. It will look for stimulation. Let it pass. This discomfort is not boredom. It is withdrawal. You are removing excess input. With time, calm replaces craving. Remember, willpower is a limited resource. The environment is a multiplier. Use it. Make it easier to do what matters and harder to do what does not. Do not rely on future motivation. Build present structure. When the space supports you, effort becomes focused. And when effort is focused, progress becomes inevitable. One space, one purpose brings clarity and inner order. This sounds simple, yet very few people live this way. They blend everything together and then wonder why their mind feels crowded. When a single space carries too many intentions, the mind does not know how to enter it. It hesitates, it resists. It becomes noisy. The mind seeks order. Order creates safety. When there is no clear purpose, the nervous system stays alert. It keeps scanning. It never fully settles. This is why many people feel tired, even when they are doing nothing. Their mind is constantly switching roles without rest. When you give one space, one purpose, you remove confusion. The moment you enter, the mind understands what is expected. There is no inner debate, no silent argument, no wasted energy. You are either here to work, to train, to rest, or to reflect. Nothing else. Most people try to multitask their life. They work while resting. They rest while worrying. They train while checking their phone. This divided attention fragments the mind. Over time, it becomes difficult to be fully present anywhere. Even when they sit still, the mind keeps moving. Clarity does not come from doing more. It comes from separating clearly. When you stop mixing purposes, the mind regains strength. Focus becomes deeper because it is no longer interrupted by conflicting signals. Think about how water behaves. When it is spread thin, it has no power. When it is contained, it can cut through stone. Your attention works the same way. One space, one purpose is containment. It gives your energy direction. This practice also builds inner order. Inner order is not about control. It is about alignment. When your outer spaces are clear, your inner state reflects that clarity. You begin to trust yourself more because your actions become predictable. You know that when you sit in a certain place, you will act in a certain way. This predictability is not boring. It is grounding. It creates stability. From stability comes creativity. From stability comes growth. Chaos does not create freedom. Structure does. People often fear structure because they associate it with restriction. But real restriction comes from confusion. When everything blends together, you are never fully at rest and never fully at work. You are trapped in between. Giving one space, one purpose also teaches discipline without force. You do not need to motivate yourself. You simply respect the space. You do not eat in the place of work. You do not scroll in the place of training. You do not bring stress into the place of rest. This respect becomes a form of self-respect. At first, the mind will try to break these boundaries. It will whisper that it is harmless to mix just a little. Do not listen. Small leaks sink big ships. Protect the purpose of each space fiercely. Not with tension, but with consistency. Over time, something powerful happens. The mind begins to switch states faster. You enter your workspace and focus arrives quickly. You enter your rest space and tension dissolves. You no longer carry everything everywhere. You learn how to put things down. This is how balance is created. Not by managing everything at once, but by giving everything its rightful place. When each space has a clear role, the mind no longer feels overwhelmed. It feels supported. Inner order is built externally first. Do not underestimate this. You cannot think your way into clarity if your environment is constantly pulling you in different directions. Simplify the outside and the inside will follow, so choose one space and give it one purpose. Honor it daily. Let clarity grow naturally. And from that clarity, let your life move forward with calm strength. Discipline becomes effortless when the place is defined. This is something most people misunderstand. They think discipline is about forcing yourself to do what you do not want to do. They imagine struggle, tension, and constant self-control. That is not discipline, that is resistance. Real discipline feels calm, it feels quiet, it feels natural. And it begins with a clearly defined place. When a place has no identity, your mind must create one every time you enter. It asks questions. Should I work or rest? Should I focus or relax? Should I push or delay? These questions drain energy before you even begin. By the time you decide, you are already tired. A defined place removes these questions. The decision has already been made in advance. When you step in, the role is clear. The body recognizes the signal. It shifts automatically. This is not motivation. This is conditioning. Think about how you brush your teeth. You do not need willpower for that. The place tells you what to do. The same principle applies to focus, training, and growth. When the place is consistent, behavior follows without effort. People who appear disciplined are often not stronger than others. They are simply not negotiating with themselves all day. Their environment does the negotiating for them. They have fewer choices, and because of that, more freedom. When discipline relies on emotion, it collapses under stress. When it relies on structure, it holds steady. This is why defining your spaces is more important than making promises to yourself. Promises are easy to break. Structures are harder to ignore. A defined place also reduces inner conflict. When you mix purposes, part of you wants to work and part of you wants to escape. This creates tension. Over time, that tension turns into avoidance. You begin to associate effort with discomfort. Not because the work is hard, but because the environment is unclear. Clarity dissolves resistance. When you sit in a place that exists only for one purpose, there is nothing to argue about. You either show up or you leave. And when you stay, discipline unfolds on its own. This is why rituals matter. Not dramatic ones, simple ones, entering the same space at the same time, sitting the same way, beginning the same way. These actions tell the mind it is time. No emotion required. At first, it may feel mechanical. Let it be. The mind learns through repetition, not inspiration. Over time, the effort disappears. What once felt forced becomes automatic. This is the moment discipline turns into habit. People often ask how to stay consistent. Consistency is not maintained by passion. It is maintained by design. If your environment supports the behavior, you will repeat it. If it does not, you will eventually stop. Defining a place is also an act of respect. You are saying this matters enough to deserve its own space. This act strengthens commitment. You are no longer treating your goals as optional. Do not overcomplicate this. A defined place does not need to be large or perfect. It needs to be clear. Clear in purpose. Clear in boundaries. Clear in use. Protect it from contamination. Do not bring distraction into it. Do not dilute its meaning. When the place is defined, discipline becomes light. You stop forcing yourself. You stop waiting for motivation. You simply arrive and begin. And when beginning becomes easy, progress becomes inevitable. Do not fight distraction. Remove its territory. Most people exhaust themselves trying to win a battle that never needed to happen. They sit in the middle of temptation and then blame themselves for giving in. This is not a lack of character. It is poor strategy. Distraction is not powerful because you are weak. It is powerful because it is close. The mind is drawn to what is visible, accessible, and familiar. If distraction has a seat in your space, it will take your attention. Every time. Trying to resist distraction while it remains present is like trying to stay dry while standing in the rain. You can tense your muscles. You can repeat affirmations, but the environment keeps winning. The intelligent move is to step out of the rain. This is why willpower fails. Willpower is reactive. It waits until the urge appears and then tries to suppress it. This creates friction. Friction creates fatigue. Fatigue leads to surrender. Not because you wanted to quit, but because you ran out of energy. Removing distraction works differently. It is proactive. You make the decision once in a calm state, and then you do not have to make it again. The phone is not in the room. The notifications are off. The unnecessary tabs are closed. The clutter is gone. Now there is nothing to resist. When distraction has no territory, the mind settles. It does not keep scanning for escape routes. It stays with what is in front of it. Focus becomes the default, not the exception. People underestimate how much energy is spent saying no all day. Every small act of resistance drains you. When you design your space without temptation, you conserve strength. That strength can then be used for what actually matters. This is not about isolation. It is about boundaries. You decide where distraction is allowed and where it is not. A dedicated zone is a protected zone. Nothing enters without permission. At first, this feels uncomfortable. The mind is used to constant stimulation. When it does not find it, it becomes restless. It looks for something to grab. Let it be restless. Do not feed it. This discomfort is temporary. What follows is depth. Depth is rare because most people never remove the surface noise. They try to dive while the waves are still crashing. Remove the waves, and the water becomes clear. Do not underestimate small changes. Moving your phone to another room, clearing your desk, facing a blank wall instead of a screen. These are not trivial actions. They are strategic ones. They change the rules of the game. You are not here to prove how strong you are. You are here to build something meaningful. Strength is knowing where you do not belong. Strength is refusing to fight unnecessary battles. When distraction loses access, discipline no longer feels heavy. Focus no longer feels forced. You stop feeling guilty for slipping, because there is nothing to slip into. This is how you protect your attention. Attention is your most valuable resource. Where it goes, your life follows. If you give distraction a home, it will take over. If you remove its territory, it will fade. So stop fighting what you can simply remove. Create spaces where distraction does not exist. And let clarity do the rest. Repetition in the same space builds focus and self-trust. This is where real change becomes visible, not in sudden breakthroughs, but in quiet consistency. The mind does not transform through intensity. It transforms through repetition. And repetition needs a stable place to root itself. When you return to the same space for the same purpose, day after day, the mind begins to relax. It no longer wonders what will happen. It knows. This knowing creates safety, and safety allows focus to deepen. The nervous system stops resisting because nothing feels unfamiliar. At first, repetition feels boring. The mind craves novelty. It wants stimulation, variety, excitement. But novelty is not growth. Novelty keeps you shallow. Repetition takes you deep. Depth is where mastery lives. Each time you show up to the same place, you send a signal to yourself. I can be trusted. I do what I say I will do. This may sound small, but it is powerful. Self-trust is built through kept promises, not big declarations. Most people struggle not because they lack ability, but because they do not trust themselves. They start with enthusiasm and stop when it fades. Over time, this pattern creates doubt. Why try if I will quit again? Repetition breaks this cycle. It replaces doubt with evidence. The place becomes a witness. It has seen you show up tired. It has seen you show up distracted. It has seen you show up uninspired. And yet you stayed. This creates a bond. The moment you enter that space, focus begins to rise, not because you force it, but because you have trained it there. Repetition also reduces resistance. The first time is always the hardest. The 10th time is easier. The 100th time feels natural. What once required effort now requires presence. This is how habits are formed without struggle. People often chase new systems, new routines, new methods. They mistake movement for progress. But progress comes from returning, not restarting. The same place, the same time, the same intention. This simplicity is what makes it work. Focus is not a personality trait. It is a conditioned response. When you repeatedly focus in one location, the brain associates that place with attention. Eventually, the moment you arrive, distractions quiet down. This is training at the nervous system level. Repetition also teaches patience. You stop expecting immediate results. You stop measuring every session. You trust the process. This trust reduces anxiety. And when anxiety fades, clarity grows. Self-trust is fragile at first. It needs protection. Do not break your routine for small excuses. Every time you skip without reason, you weaken the bond. Every time you show up, even briefly, you strengthen it. This does not mean perfection. It means honesty. If you are tired, show up gently. If you are busy, show up briefly. But show up. The act of returning matters more than the length of stay. Over time, repetition reshapes your identity. You no longer say I try. You say I do. Not because you are special, but because you are consistent. This is how focus becomes stable. This is how confidence becomes quiet. Not through force, but through faithful return. So choose your space. Return to it daily. And let repetition turn effort into trust. Clear zones create a quiet mind and consistent action. A quiet mind is not empty. It is settled. It is not pulled in 10 directions at once. And this kind of quiet does not come from escaping responsibility. It comes from order. Most people live with constant inner noise. Thoughts overlap. Tasks remain unfinished. Attention jumps without rest. They think this is normal. It is not. It is a signal that boundaries are missing. When zones are unclear, the mind never fully switches off or fully switches on. You are resting while thinking about work. You are working while craving rest. This split attention creates tension. Over time, that tension becomes mental fatigue. And fatigue leads to inconsistency. Clear zones remove this friction. When you know exactly what a space is for, the mind stops wandering. It does not need to hold everything at once. It can release what does not belong there. A quiet mind is a result of trust. Trust that things have their place. Trust that you will handle tasks when you are meant to handle them. Without clear zones, the mind tries to manage everything simultaneously. With clear zones, it can let go. This is why consistency becomes natural when zones are respected. You are no longer relying on bursts of motivation. You are simply responding to structure. When you enter the work zone, you work. When you enter the rest zone, you rest. No guilt. No resistance. Consistency does not mean intensity every day. It means reliability, showing up again and again without drama. Clear zones make this possible because they reduce emotional decision-making. The mind likes certainty. When it knows what happens where, it stops questioning, it stops procrastinating. Action flows because there is no confusion. Many people think they are inconsistent because they lack discipline. In reality, they lack clarity. Their environment is asking them to be too many things at once. This creates overwhelm. When zones are clear, overwhelm dissolves. You are no longer carrying work into rest or restlessness into work. You move cleanly from one state to another. This also improves presence. You are fully where you are. When you train, you train. When you think, you think. When you recover, you recover. This presence sharpens results and deepens satisfaction. A quiet mind does not mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes manageable. You face challenges one at a time instead of all at once. Clear zones also protect your energy. Energy leaks when attention is scattered. Focused energy produces results. Results build confidence. Confidence fuels consistency. At first, maintaining clear zones requires awareness. You will catch yourself crossing boundaries. Gently return. Do not judge. Just correct. Over time, this becomes automatic. The reward is profound. You wake up knowing where to go and what to do. You stop wasting mental energy on decisions that were already made. Your mind becomes a tool instead of a battlefield. Consistency is not built by force. It is built by alignment. When your spaces support your intentions, action follows without struggle. So simplify your life by clarifying your spaces. Give each zone its purpose. Protect it. Respect it. And let the quiet mind guide consistent action forward. Everything you are searching for is already within reach, but it requires order to emerge. When you choose your spaces with intention, you choose your actions. When your actions become consistent, your mind becomes quiet. And when the mind is quiet, progress becomes steady and real. Do not wait for motivation, build structure. Do not fight yourself, support yourself. Let your environment carry the discipline so your energy can be used to grow, not to struggle. Start small. One space. One purpose. Return to it every day. Over time, this simple practice will reshape your focus, your confidence, and your life. Good luck on your journey of building clarity and inner strength. Thank you for listening.